So good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll be talking about the panel. The panel's name is How Tournaments, Sports Leagues, and Associations Can Be the Change. I'm joined here today by my colleagues, Dr. Tania Braga, who is the Head of Sustainability and Legacy for the Rio 2016 Organizing Committee for the Olympic Games. And I'll just briefly introduce her. Dr. Braga is the Sustainability, Accessibility, and Legacy Head for the Rio 2016 Olympics and Paralympic Games Organizing Committee. Her responsibilities are to develop and oversee the sustainability and accessibility programs of Rio 2016, contributing to the creation of positive and lasting environmental, social, and economic initiatives. I'm also pleased to be joined by Jean-Pierre Suitat, who is the president of the Fédération Française de Basketball. Starting his career as an engineer, Mr. Suitat tried to mix his professional career within the regional authority with his passion for basketball. He became best NF1A coach, then manager of the French Basketball Federation, and now is the president. And you've heard a little bit about me. On behalf of the National Hockey League, la Ligue Nationale de Hockey est honorée d'être ici aujourd'hui. Thank you very much. The National Hockey League is pleased to be here this afternoon to talk a little bit about what we do in terms of environmental sustainability. So perhaps what would be good was I'll start off the conversation, then I'll pass it off to my colleagues, and then we'll have a couple minutes for questions and answers at the end of the session. So when it comes to hockey, ice hockey, and for those folks in the room and online who may not know, the National Hockey League is the ice hockey federation in North America. We have 30 clubs across Canada and the US, 7 in Canada, 23 in the US. And back in 2010, our commissioner, Commissioner Gary Bettman, started a program called NHL Green. NHL Green was the environmental sustainability initiative of the league that captured all of the environmental programs that our league and its member clubs were doing. Because at the time, our clubs were heavily interested in this space, our players were very active in this space, and our fans were interested in this. And so we put together this umbrella platform called NHL Green. And since 2010, we have achieved significant programs and initiatives that all of our clubs participate in. Now, the first question people might ask is, so why is ice hockey important? Why is ice hockey related to environmental issues? And the key thing to remember is, a lot of our players learn to play growing up on frozen ponds. And if they're playing on frozen ponds, they need cold weather and they need fresh water. And so as a sport, we are directly impacted by climate change and freshwater scarcity. That is a direct business threat to our sport. So as a league, we want to make sure that we are addressing those challenges in a meaningful way. So back in 2010, our commissioner, with the help of all of our clubs, started a food recovery initiative which took all prepared but unused food at all of our NHL arenas and donated it to local food shelters. Over 100 tons of food each season is diverted from landfill and goes to feed communities in need. That's equivalent to 120,000 meals that go back into our local communities. And that is significant. In 2011, we started a water restoration program in partnership with a nonprofit called Bonneville Environmental Foundation, BEF, where we purchase water restoration credits, which is a financial instrument that goes towards funding water restoration initiatives. In the past 4 years, the NHL has restored over 40 million gallons of water. Again, because this is something that's important to us. In 2012, we started a tree planting initiative, where we've planted over 1,500 trees. All of these things the league and our clubs participate in order to show that they're advancing environmental sustainability across their communities. We captured all of these initiatives in a report, the 2014 NHL Sustainability Report, which was the first of its kind from any major US pro sports league. In addition to capturing all these case studies of the report, what we did was we documented our carbon footprint. 550,000 metric tons of carbon each season is produced by the league and its member clubs. And that was significant because now that we know what our carbon footprint is, now we know how to address it, how we can hopefully change it, modify it, and reduce it. As part of that report, coming out of that report, we were able to sign up with a corporate partner, Constellation, which is a vertically integrated energy services provider based in Maryland. And Constellation, as part of the partnership, was able to offset the league's entire carbon footprint with the purchase of renewable energy certificates and carbon offsets, also a first in professional sports in the US. Through that purchase, the league was honored by the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States with an Environmental Leadership Award, acting as the 20th largest green power purchaser in the entire US. That sets up the league up there with the likes of Facebook, with Google, and other very large companies. And that was significant because it's a sign to our supply chain, to our corporate partners, that the league is vested and interested and takes this seriously. As part of our partnership with Constellation, they are also our energy efficiency experts. So while I go into our clubs and speak to our facility managers, all of our arena managers, who are sort of the mavericks, if you would, of sustainability within their organization, now I have a corporate partner who will come in and help us really achieve energy efficiency in our arenas. And why is that important? Because 70% of our carbon footprint is based on energy consumption in our buildings. So if we can reduce energy efficiency, we can reduce our carbon footprint. And whenever I go and speak with those sustainability directors, they will say, show me the money. They will say, tell me where those opportunities are for energy efficiency. And that's how we're able to advance this agenda and really move the needle forward. So I'm going to leave it right there. We have a lot that we're doing, and we have a lot that's coming up because our league is celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2017. We want to make sure that we have another 100 years of the league, right? We want to make sure that climate change does not affect our sport, because this is a business threat to us. And that's why we take this work seriously. That's why we work with partners like the Green Sports Alliance and the Natural Resources Defense Council. And that's why we're honored to be here today, because this is an important message that we need to show to the broader community, to the supply chain, to the governments, to the nonprofits, that sports has a meaningful place in this discussion. So thank you. I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Braga.
Bonjour à tous, je vous remercie l'opportunité d'être ici aujourd'hui et je vous demande la permission de m'exprimer en anglais. Okay, I'll start my timekeeping. Rio Olympic and Paralympic Games will be for sure remembered for the joy and warm hospitality. But it can also be recognized as games with a balanced budget, technical excellence, and transparency. And carbon emissions management is an important part of that. We will deliver low-carbon games and leave a legacy of low-carbon solutions for Brazilian economy. How are we going to achieve that? First of all, by taking carbon emissions management very seriously. Accountability and transparency, it's an important part of this work. We have estimated our carbon footprint and have used this as a basis for planning our emissions reductions. Establishing a target for emissions reduction in an event, it's always a challenge. We cannot look backwards at our emissions in previous years, since the event happens just once. What we did was to calculate a business as usual scenario for our emissions. By business as usual, we mean what the emissions would be if we work in the normal way the Brazilian market operates. We publish a report detailing these calculations and the measures we are taking to reduce the emissions 2 years ahead of the Games in August 2014. And based on this business as usual scenario, we have identified our big hitters and established a target of 18% reduction in our direct emissions, our operation emissions. Those reductions are achieved by, first of all, avoiding emissions through careful planning. Events, either they be sport events, cultural events, corporate events, they tend to overestimate the quantity of materials because we have to do right the first time. So careful planning, it's a very important part of emissions management for any type of events. We also achieve reductions by using low carbon materials and by the use of fuel with lower emissions. Here, it's like a marathon where each step counts. So we started our planning early, but we keep until the last moment doing revisions in an iterative way and trying to reduce the quantity of materials that we use at each step. But we are not running this marathon on our own. We involved our supply chain. So we gathered together with sponsors, suppliers, licensees, and we have established clear targets for each product, for each service that has an impact on climate, an impact on emissions, and we are working with a series of partners to prepare the Brazilian market to be able to deliver on those requirements. However, we still have a significant footprint left after this effort of reductions. For the emissions we cannot avoid, we have partnered with Dow to compensate. The focus here is legacy. Instead of buying credits from existing projects, we opt to use Dow capillarity into Latin American markets to start new projects of low carbon solutions in agriculture, industry, and construction sectors, in those areas where the majority of the emissions of Brazil and our neighbor countries come from. This is not an easy task, but we have built a great partnership and we are having a very positive answer from the market, and the transformation is already starting. We are also using the power of the communication from the Games to build awareness and drive behavior change. We need to make sure that after our marathon ends, people will keep running. We will keep the wheel in motion, and other sport events will also take their role in reducing emissions. We are doing the awareness and behavior change work through many different initiatives. One of them, it's an education program with public schools in Rio and across the country, where we use sports to talk about science and climate change with the kids. We also collaborate with UNEP in the Green Passport campaign to engage spectators and support Rio hospitality sector on sustainable tourism. We also developed an online application to calculate the footprint of events of different sizes. They say that what we cannot measure, we cannot reduce. And we know that many events of small and middle size, they cannot measure their emissions because it's too expensive or they don't have the knowledge. So we created this online tool to help events of different sizes to measure their footprint and to create a reduction strategy. And it is about to be launched with our partners in the beginning of 2016. These are some examples on how we are addressing the challenge of reducing emissions in such a huge event. And so far, I think the best result we can is to prove that it's possible, that it doesn't cost more, that the additional work it brings, because it does bring an additional work of changing mindsets, of changing hearts. It's a feasible extra amount of work. And most of all, it's possible to do it in a large scale with a very strict time schedule as the one we operate in an Olympic and Paralympic Games. Thank you very much.
And now Jean-Pierre, you can stay here. You can go there. Okay. Sorry. All right.
Ça, c'est l'entrée en matière. C'est OK. Désolé pour cette entrée en matière. Bonjour à tous, Monsieur le Ministre. Tout d'abord, je suis ravi de venir témoigner ici au titre de la responsabilité d'un sport comme le basketball. Je suis ravi d'entendre que nos amis de la NBA sont investis dans effectivement dans ce combat pour le développement durable. Derrière chaque Français, pratiquement, il y a quelqu'un qui pratique le sport. Nous avons compté, je pense, à peu près 47 millions de pratiquants. Sur ces 47 millions de pratiquants, vous avez 17 millions qui sont licenciés, enregistrés dans nos fédérations sportives. Au niveau du basket, nous sommes 600 000 licenciés, dont à peu près 40% de femmes. Et je peux vous dire que modifier les comportements des gens, c'est pas simple. J'ai l'occasion d'être sur des plateaux internationaux et de voir encore sur le basket féminin des gens fumer pendant que les joueuses jouent. Il faut dire que il y a encore du temps avant qu'on arrive à faire évoluer les affaires. Mais bon, il faut s'y prendre un jour et se bagarrer et être motivé. Je pense que c'est ce qu'on essaie de faire ici en France et le cas particulier ici du basket que je représente. Vous dire aussi que nous avons pour objectif de cibler tous les gens qui de près ou de loin touchent le monde du basket. Alors, nous avons une politique événementielle au niveau du basket. Nous nous sommes lancés il y a quelques années à organiser des grands événements et nous avons eu la première démarche de développement durable en 2010 dans le cadre du championnat du monde des moins de 17 ans féminin, dans lequel nous avons fait un vrai beau dossier sur le sud-ouest de la France, qui a été primé d'ailleurs par le ministère et le comité olympique ici. Nous avons redoublé nos efforts pour organiser l'Eurobasket féminin. Sur ces bases, nous avons sorti derrière une vingtaine de fiches qui nous ont permis à nos clubs de comprendre comment on pouvait effectivement se lancer dans une démarche telle que l'Eurobasket féminin. Et nous avons poursuivi cet effort dès cette année, en 2015, avec l'organisation de l'Eurobasket. Nous avons regroupé 300 000 personnes en France et à peu près 700 000 sur l'Europe, puisque c'était un événement pan-européen sur 4 pays. Et je pense que l'avenir de ces grands événements passera par une mutualisation des pays. Et au travers de cette mutualisation, justement, on fera évoluer les cultures et les comportements de chaque pays. Donc on espère effectivement marquer déjà une première étape au travers de l'événementiel. Donc on touche un public, on touche un organisateur, et toucher ce public et lui faire comprendre qu'il y a des gestes à un moment donné qui peuvent sauver la planète, ça peut effectivement faire évoluer ce premier, je dirais, ce premier pas. Deuxième cible que nous avons, je pense, essayer de toucher, ce sont nos clubs. Nous avons plus de 4500 clubs dans le basket français. Ça a été dit tout à l'heure, depuis 2007, nous nous sommes lancés dans cette analyse du bilan carbone de notre activité. Et nous sommes aperçus que, effectivement, les déplacements représentent 91% de cet impact carbone de l'activité. 91%. Donc l'idée, c'est peut-être de réduire les déplacements, mais les réduire intelligemment. Et pour les réduire, c'est simple, il suffit de pas faire de compétition, donc il n'y a pas de déplacement. Mais à un moment donné, il faut bien que les gens s'expriment. Ils ont choisi de faire du basket, de la compétition, donc il faut effectivement qualifier cette compétition. Nous avons donc déjà, dans un premier temps, trié nos compétitions, valoriser les compétitions d'élite qui valent vraiment le coup. Les gens, on a réduit le nombre, donc les gens se déplacent davantage, mais pour un vrai objectif d'élite, donc derrière de préparer nos équipes nationales. Et le deuxième cible, c'est effectivement tout le secteur dit amateur, territorial. Et là, ce qu'on vous a présenté tout à l'heure, notre logiciel Optimove, je pense, sera d'un grand secours. Vous vous rendez compte, 15% de réduction, comme disait Monsieur le ministre tout à l'heure, sur 2,5 millions de matchs par an, mais c'est énorme, ça sera énorme. Quand on sait les difficultés que nous avons dans nos clubs déjà à nous déplacer, à trouver des bénévoles qui vont suivre ces équipes, si en plus on peut optimiser d'ores et déjà ces groupes de rencontres, ce serait intéressant. Donc ça, c'est une cible intéressante. Et à ce titre, nous avons mis en place dans cette cible club, avec la fédération, toute une série de labels pour récompenser ceux qui, au quotidien, font des efforts sur le développement durable. La troisième cible, bien évidemment, ce sont les licenciés. Nous avons 600 000 licenciés. Dans ces licenciés, là, plus du tiers sont des jeunes, même des très jeunes. Si on est dit que ces jeunes, je pense qu'on réussira à l'avenir. Nous, pour ça, on a des regroupements qui existent. Au mois de mai, la fête du mini-basket, nous avons plus de 100 000 jeunes qui sont concernés. Nous profitons de ces regroupements pour faire effectivement la sensibilisation. Nous avons des actions au quotidien qui s'appellent le Baby Ball, qui permet à des tout jeunes, et je l'ai vu, des tout jeunes qui à peine peuvent marcher avec un ballon, ils font 2-3 dribbles, ils font 2-3 gestes de basket, ils posent le ballon, et vous avez un éducateur qui explique qu'à un moment donné, il faut éteindre la lumière, il faut fermer le robinet, des choses simples de la vie qui, très sincèrement, ont une vraie répercussion positive sur les enfants. Donc on espère comme ça éduquer les jeunes. Et pour finir mon propos, je vais essayer de pas tomber sur le retour, c'est le collègue disait aussi que il aimerait bien que la ligue de hockey soit encore là dans 100 ans. J'espère qu'on soit en capacité nous aussi de préparer l'avenir pour nos jeunes et que les jeunes fassent du basket encore dans 100 ans. Voilà, merci à tous.
Thank you both. I'll ask a couple questions, and then we'll hopefully get some questions from the audience and on Twitter if anybody wants to tweet at us, and then we can get those questions rolling. So, Dr. Braga, Tanya, you talked about the power of communications, right? Getting the messaging out of what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about, or both of you, tell us a little bit more about exactly how are the channels that you're getting that messaging out? What is that messaging like? Because at the NHL, as an example, when we talk about our environmental initiatives, NHL Green, we utilize our social media platforms. We have 12 million followers on social media. We have 400 million fans that look at our game on TV. 22 million fans attend games in arena each season. So we have that platform to get the messaging out. But what's critical is that we're not just saying, we're going green and it's all well and good. We're trying to tell it in an authentic way, right? And this message of authenticity will come up again and again and again in these conversations because fans want to understand exactly, what's the relation between sports and sustainability. For us, it's very much about showing them, look, frozen ponds. If you want to grow up on frozen ponds, this is what's going to be affecting those roots of the sport. If you want to play in an indoor use arena, guess what? Operating costs are very high, energy costs are very high. So if you lower operating costs and energy costs, it lowers ice time costs, and therefore more people can play our sport in indoor arenas. People get it. People understand the direction, the importance of sustainability in our sport. And so we leverage those platforms to tell that story in a meaningful way, whether it's using our corporate partners, whether it's telling, pictures or using our athletes. I can't underscore how important athletes are in telling that story, because the NHL can say it as much as it wants, but if we have the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks message something out, that's where you get a lot of traction. That's where you get someone like Andrew Ference, who is the assistant captain of the Edmonton Oilers. When he says something, that's where the message resonates. So I take it to you guys and say, how do you affect that type of power of communication to tell that story?
Thank you for the question. I think communicating, it's probably the biggest challenge we have. And in a journey of an event such as the Olympic and Paralympic Games, we need to address each period with a different strategy for communications. Of course, we use social media during the whole journey, but it changes. I think in the early days, the most important is to be present in events such as this one today and build relationships with people in with different stakeholders. So we keep a stakeholder dialogue with local organizations and also some ad hoc dialogue with national and global organizations. This is a very important part, to keep a dialogue with different stakeholders. We have used as a basic platform the education work. We are present in all the public schools in the city of Rio and also across the country through a platform for teachers. And we use this as a way to engage into conversation with kids on issues about sustainability and sport. And as we are getting close to the games, we are preparing some work more directed to the media. We will have 25,000 accredited media in Rio during the games. And we will have a lounge fully dedicated to sustainability inside the main press center, with activities for the journalists, using a lot of storytelling and bringing people who have been benefited directly by our actions to tell the stories. Because if we tell the stories, as you say, if the athletes tell the story, it's more convincing. Sure. In our case, for example, if we're going to say about our commitment with certified wood, it's much more credible if I have furniture, small size furniture producer to come and tell what changes their business to be a supplier of furniture for Rio 2016 and how they changed their whole supply chain for certified wood. So we will rely on these people who have benefit from our partnerships and initiatives to come and have conversations during the games about the subject.
Great. Jean-Pierre?
Je vais dire en français.
Oui.
Moi, je crois que la cible, c'est de modifier le comportement des gens que nous touchons. Dans les gens que nous touchons, il y a des acteurs, il y a des spectateurs. On peut, au niveau des spectateurs, effectivement, les sensibiliser davantage si nous faisons appel à des ambassadeurs. On peut imaginer nos joueurs de l'équipe nationale qui jouent NBA, les Tony Parker, les Borisio, les Nicolas Batum, de les sensibiliser. C'est un point qu'on n'a pas encore évoqué, mais je pense que c'est des choses intéressantes. Ensuite, les acteurs, c'est au quotidien. Il faut, s'ils font un effort, c'est parce qu'ils comprennent cette démarche vertueuse et qu'ils seront les gagnants, peut-être pas aujourd'hui, mais demain. Et ça, c'est un travail au quotidien. Nous le faisons au niveau de la fédération, au sein déjà de nos propres structures. Nous le suggérons au niveau des clubs au travers d'une valorisation de leur travail. Nous avons mis en place une plateforme d'échange qui permet justement de comparer les expériences sur les territoires. Et moi, je crois beaucoup que demain, là je parle au niveau de tous les sports, que la réforme territoriale sera, à mon avis, le vrai moment de repenser notre mode de fonctionnement. Voilà, tout simplement. Et je crois qu'une fois de plus, on va pouvoir se projeter. Mais c'est toujours difficile parce qu'il y en a qui vont toujours très vite, qui comprennent le sens des affaires. Et puis il y en a qui attendent toujours le dernier train. Merci.
Great. Let me open it up in the interest of time to the audience. Please.
Oui, bonjour, je m'appelle Didier Lehenaf, président d'une association qui s'intitule Un sport vert pour ma planète. Ma question ira pour Madame Braga. Vous avez parlé des questions d'héritage qui sont essentielles pour les générations à venir. Quel héritage, quelles leçons avez-vous tirées de l'organisation de la Coupe du Monde de football en 2014 sur des modifications éventuelles de la préparation et du déroulement des Jeux Olympiques de Rio, sachant que en interne au Brésil, un certain nombre de personnes se sont élevées contre des dépenses très importantes qui avaient été consenties pour la construction d'un grand nombre de stades, et qu'en regard de ces dépenses considérées par certains comme pharaoniques, il y avait des problèmes qui persistaient au Brésil, très profonds, concernant l'éducation, les transports et la santé. Comment, en 2 ans, vous avez pu prendre en compte ces demandes émanant du peuple brésilien, on parle ici d'héritage, pour essayer de faire en sorte que les Jeux de Rio soient moins soumis à critique de la part du peuple brésilien, du moins d'une certaine frange de ce peuple.
Thank you for your question. There was some learnings from this situation, but also it's important to say that our planning was before the World Cup. And these problems with the World Cup, you telling, came to confirm that the direction we choose was the right one. So the Rio Games, for the organizing committee, we are funded by private money. And we have given ourselves the commitment to not use public funding in the operations in the organizing committee. Regarding the construction of venues, of stadiums, I think this is a very important part of Rio Games. We are using a lot of existing venues. So our games have been planned already in 2008 when we get our candidature to maximize the use of existing venues. So if we look at the number of venues, approximately half of the venues for the Olympic Games already existed in 2009. But if we calculate this in area, square meters of sport competition venues, it is up to almost 70%. We also using temporary venues that are fully temporary, but that has been designed from the beginning to have a flexible use after the games. One example is the venue we called Future Arena, where we will have handball during the Olympic Games and goalball at the Paralympic Games. It was designed from the start to become 4 schools after the Games. So it's a modular structure where each part of the structure, the roof, the toilets, they already designed to compose the parts of the 4 schools. So this is the direction we took. Be really careful with the venues, and for operations, struggle for a balanced budget. We only spend what we are able to raise with our sponsors, selling tickets, with the rights of broadcast. So basically, it's budget balance. We only spend what we can raise.
Go. Okay.
Hi, I'm Colleen Turon from BASIS and CLT Enviro Law. my question really links into the question that was just asked now. And whilst I'm aware that, the focus today is very much on carbon reduction emissions, the nexus between climate change and sustainability, I mean, I'd just like to have your comments on what your thoughts are about the whole question of human rights in sport and bringing that under the banner of sustainability and what we can anticipate seeing in the future around this particular area.
So I can answer some of that. Certainly there's an opportunity for that topic, human rights, to fall under the banner of sustainability. What I will say is that for the National Hockey League, we work with corporate partners or with nonprofit partners such as Beyond Sport, which is an international nonprofit partner based in the UK that promotes positive social change using sport as a platform to get that messaging out, right? And so certainly we look to those types of partnerships, those nonprofit partnerships, to try and advance that agenda to see exactly what other folks, what other nonprofits, NGOs are doing in that space, to learn from them. This is all part of corporate social responsibility in professional sports, and certainly you'll see that there needs to be best practice sharing out there, and that's where we would look to for those types of initiatives. All right, I think we're out of time because we're a little bit running behind time, but thank you very much to my panelists, and thank you very much to COP21, COP21.